My name is Elise. Welcome back to another week with the Foundry Kids, and welcome to the last week of our August series called Canvas. In this series, we have been talking about how God made us creative, and last week we talked about how God gave us creative ways to solve problems, and this week we're just talking about how God is creative and how God made us to be creative. So I can't wait to talk more about that, but before we do, we are going to stand up and sing a song.
To get it done, don't gotta look too far. Just dig it deep and shine like a star. Let's show the world who we can be by using our creativity. Come on.
Sometimes it's easy to feel like I've given all I got. Is there anything more? I get down, get stuck, boxed in, locked up. I gotta get moving. Gotta get moving. And all I see right in front of me are endless possibilities. Birds flying high and the planets in the sky. So creative, so innovative. How the river flows and how the grass grows. So creative, so Sometimes it's easy to feel like I've given all I got. Is there anything more? I get down, get stuck, boxed in, locked up. I gotta get moving. Gotta get moving. And all I see right in front of me are endless possibilities. Birds flying high and the planets in the sky. Flows and how the grass grows. So innovative. A tiny little seed growing everything we need. So creative, so innovative. Turning sound into a song makes me wanna sing along. So creative, so innovative. All these things, they show me who you are.
Our lesson today comes from the book of Exodus, and if you guys have been paying attention, our memory verse of the Ten Commandments also comes from the book of Exodus. That comes from Exodus chapter 20, and our story today is a little bit after that. It is Exodus 25 plus a couple other verses, and today we are talking about something called the tabernacle. Now, back in those times when God gave Moses and the Israelites the Ten Commandments, they were actually living in a desert, and they didn't have like a set home or a set city. They were wandering around the desert at that time. But just because they were wandering around the desert, they still wanted to have a place they could worship God, and God wanted them to have a place where they could worship God. And so God gave them very specific instructions to make something called a tabernacle. And the tabernacle was a tent. It was very special, and it was where they would go to worship God. Just like we go to a building to go to church, they would go to this tent. And eventually they are going to get their own city and their own country, and then they will build a building called the temple. And the temple also had some very specific instructions about what God wanted in there. But today we are learning about the tabernacle. So let's learn more about the tabernacle.
Speaking of creative and awesome, it's time for
The Story Before the Story.
Today, we're in the second book of the Bible. Exodus tells of God's faithfulness to his people.
In the very beginning, out of a deep, deep love, God made an amazing world.
But when people turned away from God, the world was broken. God had a plan to restore people to relationship by demonstrating love to the whole world through one family, the Israelites.
But the Israelites had been enslaved in Egypt for hundreds of years.
The people cried out for help, and God sent Moses to lead them out of Egypt to freedom in the desert.
There, God led them in a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night.
Which is where our story starts.
Take it away.
Greetings, citizens. Brian here. God had led the Israelites to freedom, but now they found themselves in the desert, a place very famous for having no Starbucks or McDonald's or any food or drink of any kind. Yet God provided both water and food. But God wanted to do more than that. He wanted to live among them. So God called Moses to come up to the top of Mount Sinai. There, God gave Moses many instructions, including the plans for building a tabernacle. Now, yeah, that's a funny word, tabernacle. It was a tent, but not like the kind of tent you just pop up in the backyard. This tent God told Moses to build would be beautiful and highly decorated, a holy tent, a place where God would dwell.
Let's see, curtains, lampstand, bowls, altars, incense, robes.
God's instructions for the tabernacle were very specific because every detail mattered. Moses gave the people this amazing news about the tabernacle. But while everyone would have a chance to help, God knew that it would take somebody really special to lead the work.
We need a skilled craftsman to head up the whole project. Bezalel, son of Uri?
Over here.
God has chosen you to lead everyone crafting the holy tent.
Who? Me?
God has filled you with His Spirit, with wisdom, understanding, knowledge, and all kinds of skill.
God had given Bezalel an amazing ability to make beautiful patterns in precious metals, to cut and set gemstones, and to work with wood. But God knew Bezalel would need help.
Oholiab, God has also chosen you and given you special skill in all kinds of crafts. And to top it off, God has given both of you the ability to teach others everything you know.
We are so on it.
Then God chose Moses' brother Aaron and his family to serve as priests. And the rest of the people were so excited to help that they gave whatever they had for the building of the holy tent. Gold, silver, bronze, yarn, leather, wood. The people gladly brought it to Bezalel and Oholiab.
We get to help!
We're doing it a pickaxe.
At last, every robe had been stitched, every lampstand molded, and every post carved. The tabernacle was finished.
You have done the work just as God commanded. May God bless you all.
When everything was finally in place and the priests were ready, a cloud covered the tent, and the glory of God filled it for everyone to see. The end.
You know, creativity sure looks different for everyone. And, like, hard work, too.
You got that right. In fact, it probably took around 9 months to construct the tabernacle from start to finish.
But God provided everything they needed.
Hey, you're right. It's like God invited the Israelites to partner with Him.
Bingo.
So what's our part in the story?
Well, creativity is using your imagination to do something new, right? And sometimes that something new isn't just a craft project. Sometimes your work of art is simply serving others.
Like making a card for someone who's sick, or cleaning up your room without being asked, or
like the way Zeke used his imagination to create decorations for my party.
yeah, but I kind of messed that up, didn't I? The whole lasers thing.
You didn't mess anything up, Zeke. You just found a better way.
He's right. Using your imagination to love God and love others better is one of the best things you can do.
Because that's when a work of art
Becomes a work of the heart. Huh? What?
not bad, partner.
The tabernacle truly was an amazing work of art and heart, where the Israelites would worship God. Later, they would gather to worship God in a temple. Even Jesus came there. Now we can gather to worship God in a church, but through the Holy Spirit, Jesus is always with us no matter where we are.
so we can use our creativity to worship God anywhere.
I think you've got it. See you next time.
God gave the Israelites very specific instructions for how to make the tabernacle, how it needed to get set up. There were certain areas that only certain people could go. There were places where everybody could go. There were places that were decorated beautifully. And all of those things God told the Israelites to make. So they had to be creative. They had to figure out how to build things. They had to use their skills to build things and decorate things and all of those cool things. And God gives us our creativity for a reason. Maybe one day you'll grow up and you'll be like really good at painting and you'll help paint a cool picture for a church or a cool picture for your friends, or you'll help a friend make some jewelry or something like that. God gives us all kinds of creativity, and sometimes we get to use that creativity to help other people and to help God. So, what can you do this week to be more creative and help others? This is the last week of the month, so this is the last week that our 10 Commandments will be our memory verse. And remember, we are doing a simplified 10 Commandments just to make it a little easier. The whole 10 Commandments actually take up almost a whole chapter of Exodus chapter 20, but it is just 10 rules, and I've simplified it for you guys. So let's go. We've got put God first. No fake gods. Respect God's name. Respect God's day of rest. Respect your parents. Don't kill people. Respect marriage. Don't steal. Don't lie. And don't be jealous. So those are the 10 commandments, and I can't wait to see you guys next week. Bye.